Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, honorable members sitting on the dais. Kumar Vikram Singh ji, General Sakhuja, other members on the dais and distinguished participants of the dais. First, let me congratulate Vikram Singh ji in this huge organization of his setting up, getting people together and going forward with this noble task of putting skills into our youth and for purposes of security. I think this is a tremendous requirement in India now, as it was earlier, and now it is even more, because 21st century, as we all know, has been told by many people that it will be a century of Asia. In that, the country which is developed but which is clearly on the wane is China, and country which is going on the path of development and it's clearly on the wake is India. So the difference between China and India is dhalti kala or chadti kala. And we are the chadti kalas, and our chadti kalas or our people who are taking us forward are the youth. 300 million of youth. There cannot be a more organized and ambitious group of people than in India. Now, our Prime Minister right from the beginning has told everyone, has urged everybody that India will prosper if we go for manufacturing. Manufacturing puts India into the league of the world's best industrialized nations. Manufacturing provides employment to the large mass of young bodies that we have. And manufacturing puts a good percentile, I would say about 30% of our population, into the purchasing power bracket, which will continue to purchase Indian goods or goods and services. Now, for that, we require skilling. For that, we require an atmosphere where things could be done at its optimal best. For that, efficiency is the byword. Now, what are the threats? One of the biggest threats that India faces are in the field of security, both external because of the attitude of a neighbor of ours, namely Pakistan, and some of the internal situations like left-wing extremism in the central India. Now, if we had an atmosphere where there were no threats, this time we would have been doing what Germany or the Western European countries did. High production, high levels of manufacturing. Germany, as you know, was devastated in the Second World War, and so was Japan. But once the Second World War was over, and the then allies, namely US, France, Germany, France, UK, decided that Germany should not have any security worries because they took over the security. Similarly, for Japan also they did the same thing. Both these countries went ahead and became the biggest manufacturing hubs of the world. India, on the other hand, has security issues. So we got to do this balancing. We have to come better on our security problems. At the same time, we got to take the youth in the manufacturing drive and continue increasing our manufacturing sector. Today, the manufacturing sector gives approximately 15% of our GDP. 15% of our GDP is contributed from the manufacturing sector. The software or the services sector contributes more than 51%. So, we have to reverse that. Maximum number of young people would be in manufacturing sector once all the manufacturing projects, all the projects which intend bringing in manufacturing at the mainstay. So we would require a skilled population at that time. This skilled population has to come up front because along with the industry, along with the sector where the people are required to be employed, the manpower will have to be there. So this is a very, very, you can say, evolved exercise and involved exercise. And I congratulate NSDC and all its partners for this effort. Now we have, as I told you, our own security issues. The biggest, of course, is because Pakistan does not want to give up its futile effort on breaking India or taking up Kashmir. It will never get, but it goes continuously doing something which creates this tension. In Pakistan also, it is basically the Pakistani army, which is not only doing it for the sake of doing it, but also because it is smarting on the defeat that it suffered in 1971, and also the kind of face that it lost during the strike, surgical strike, which happened now. We have to take that into our reckoning. Now, what has Pakistan been doing? The low level of war or tension is part of Pakistan's doctrine. So we had 26/11, which was a big demonstration of a kind of uncertainty which can be brought about by 10 or 15 chaps. And much before that, we had, in fact, in Delhi, Sarojini Market was affected. In Ahmedabad, something like this happened, and other places of India also. Who are these people? They have been given a task, but their master controller resides in Pakistan, and they are using the usual network of mobile or satellite phone and passing this information. And they do these kind of incidents. To my mind, all these incidents are what is known in the military parlor, Mark 1. They are intended to validate something which the Pakistanis will do. So I would be quite sure that the sleeper cells are still active. And their targets are basically those ones which are infrastructure junction, whether it is communication or it is transportation, all these areas. And the Pakistani led, the sleepers would endanger those communication centers. Whether it is transportation, like I said, railways, aircraft, air force, airports, ports, hospitals. So we have to understand that they are going to do it, they are preparing for it, and therefore we must prepare for it and keep our people in readiness. There is no shortcut in preparation. There is absolutely no shortcut at all. And therefore, we have to understand in our mind what are the choke areas, what are the choke points, what becomes a strategic target, and we prepare there. And my submission to everybody is that in your own positions, wherever you are, you think where these sleeper cells could be activated and what damage can they do. They're not going to do damages in isolated places, but they will do or try to do damage in the choke points. What are the choke points? Bridges, the hubs from where communication is disrupted. The cyber controlled communication. And if we are prepared, we've done half the work. I have seen Israel from closely, and I found that though it is surrounded by extremely hostile countries or people, within Israel, because of the very clever deployment of information system and the security and a massive coordination between the military and the civilian security, including private security. Very few events happen within Israel which endangers its citizen, but they are prepared. General J.J. Singh, my former colleague, made a very good point about this, about the sector in which India is going to surge ahead, and that is smart cities. My urge is that every smart city or every bit of high-rise building that we make, we must also consider going down 2 or 3 floors and use them for essential services like MI rooms or some other, including what Israel did. I mean, maybe it's not necessary in Bangalore, but certainly it will be necessary if our smart cities are somewhere near our borders. Go down a few levels and create shelters. So that should be a kind of a routine exercise. In fact, if we are smart, then nobody will be able to beat us. I tell all my friends and colleagues, and I've been doing it all the time, and I've seen now in 1971, we won against hell of a lot of odds. 1962, we lost. Now what was it which made us win? Game plan. We had a game plan. And the leader of the military, General Manekshaw at that time, saw to it that the game plan is properly understood. And I found that at least 3 times before the war, he had come to our sector and met the officers, met the men, dialogued with them. But for 3 years, we were practicing whatever we did it in 1971. Game plan. So we must have a game plan. The game plan should be that should anybody try to interfere and make our day-to-day life difficult at the time when the tensions are on, they are foiled. They are not allowed to do that. How do you do that? By preparing. And so, our whatever the condominiums that we have or we intend to build, it should be self-sufficient in providing energy. It should be self-sufficient in providing shelter. It should be also providing infrastructure for basic relief. And then we'll be all right. Over-preparation is not dangerous, but under-preparation is dangerous. And if I am my adversary, if I am a representative of my adversary, I'll always be looking very closely where India is not prepared. And I'm going to use that. So for the next few years, when our surrounding areas are not conducive towards maximum peace and tranquility, we have to prepare. No amount of work done by the military on the borders or on the tactical or strategic targets is enough. The civil population has to be prepared, and these are very small type of interventions. Likewise, we must understand the other sector of security concern, and that is the left-wing extremism. Starting with Jharkhand, borders of Odisha, Chhattisgarh borders, Maharashtra, Telangana, this whole belt. Many people say that, well, it's a problem of the tribals. But have you ever seen that there are tribals living at other places also? Like Dhar and Jhabua district of Madhya Pradesh, bordering Gujarat. Intensely tribal, 87% people are tribal. But there is no Naxalism there. So why is, and it's a very poor area, Dhar Jhabua, the water shortage. People actually have to migrate from Jhabua to other places during summers. It's a very poor but yet there are no Naxals. Why are Naxals in Jharkhand, places of Chhattisgarh and Bastar, or Odisha, bordering Chhattisgarh, Telangana and Maharashtra? Because of two things. They are endowed with natural resources. Mining of, you name anything, from iron, manganese, aluminium, tin, copper, and extensive forests. So why are they there? They are there because of the so-called insurgents. They make money. Who do they make money from? How do they make money from? They extort. So there's a big extortion business going on. They extort from transporters, they extort from the local businessmen, they extort from the traders. And this is called, they give safety. हम तो आपको कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, आपकी गाड़ी उधर से जाएगी, हम उल्टा दें गाड़ी को. So everybody pays. Same thing happens in Northeast, Ulfa, tea garden. Ulfa and the relationship with the Ulfa with the tea gardens are quite well known. So there's a big extortion, there's enormous amount of protection money which is involved. So we must understand this. Sometimes major security events occur there, that is only to highlight that these Naxal or this Naxal particular sort of a gang can do damage, and therefore their aim is to frighten the traders. And then for the next 15 days or 2 months or 3 months, the traders pay. If you see backward areas which do not have mineral wealth or forests, you won't find Naxalism. What I am saying is that today, if you have these kind of problems, tomorrow you can have them at urban slum areas. So you got to prepare yourself. And if you don't, then something which happens and suddenly we'll wake up and start reacting. So my urge is that please take all this consideration and prepare. I wish this conference very good success and lot of deliberations, and perhaps prepare for all the outcomes. Thank you. Jai Hind.